how's it going? Here. Hey, how's that? Can you hear me now? All right, I just talked a whole bunch for no reason, so let's try that again. Tucker Carlson has been fired. You guys know this already. Fox News, now dead as a doornail. We'll see what happens with that. We're going to look at some of the numbers after Fox fired Tucker. We're going to look at what some of his fellow Fox hosts think. I am getting back into the swing of live streaming, so I'm going to be a little bit choppy, and I apologize in advance, for example, for not having any audio. Hopefully have fewer of those moving forward. Let me see how I can go. Yeah, Lori says, I was going to say I lost audio. Nope, that was just me. That was a user error, typically a user error with me, but humility is key to maintaining our humanity, so I'm not going to worry about it. Just glad I have a voice now. Speaking of having a voice, I want to show you guys all my locals page and my Rumble page, because this is stuff that I'm excited to be working on. So here is the Rumble page. I am Sour Patch Lids over on Rumble. Right now I have 72 followers, which I'm very proud of. I'm not even concerned about it in the least. I'm going to keep putting content over on there because I am concerned about the 2024 election and YouTube. I don't think that YouTube is going to play fair going into the election. I don't see that ending particularly well. Nothing would surprise me less. So we're going to have some alternative paths to try and make sure that you guys can still follow along with me. So if you want to follow me on Rumble, by all means do so over there. It's pretty simple to follow someone. The other option, if you want to follow me, is over on Locals, which I'm still figuring out. I don't know a whole lot about it. I've seen people like Scott Adams use it with great success. He is fantastic at what he does, though, so we'll see what happens. Lori says she'll follow me on Rumble. Thank you very much. Andy says, you did what? I have no idea what you're referring to. I didn't do anything wrong. There were no user errors at all at the beginning of this show. But let's jump into talking about what happened with Tucker Carlson. Let me see if I can get my computer screen just right. All right, let's see. We're going to use the Daily Wire for our source because I suspect we won't be using Fox a whole lot moving forward. Hey, thank you for following me, Pirate Bob. Okay, Lids, you have one more follower on Rumble. Very much appreciated. This show will go up over there too until I can figure out how to simulcast on 2 different platforms. We'll be uploading that one a little bit later. I'm also going to start uploading the podcast version once again, so if you want to hear my sonorous tones just without visual, that will be on most of the platforms, and I'm going to be using Spotify's podcast platform called Anchor.fm. So we'll see how that works. Let's get into this conversation about Tucker Carlson because this is interesting. Ratings king Tucker Carlson ousted at Fox News. His last show aired on Friday. This is from the Daily Wire. We have a few articles from them this evening. Tucker Carlson, Fox News Channel's biggest primetime star, has left the cable news giant. Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have agreed to part ways, said Fox News in a statement. We thank him for his service to the network as a host and prior to that as a contributor. The network said Carlson has already hosted his last episode of Tucker Carlson Tonight. Mr. Carlson's last program was Friday, April 21st. The statement continued. Fox News Tonight will air live at 8 p.m. Eastern Time starting this evening as an interim show helmed by rotating Fox News personalities until a new host is named. No one on Fox gets half the views that Tucker Carlson did. Period. Absolutely nowhere near. Nowhere near. At all. Oh my gosh, this is making me furious because I gotta be honest, the only time that Andy and I would ever tune in to Fox News was to watch a particularly spicy Tucker Carlson segment because there was something about Tucker, and I was thinking about this afternoon since he's so much at the forefront of everybody's mind. Tucker Carlson was not just a news anchor. I think what really stood out to me most about his reporting style was that he didn't just cover things everyone else was covering, okay? He was talking about stuff that people really cared about. He talked about the fentanyl crisis. He talked about aliens. He talked about all kinds of stuff that nobody else would even entertain. And I personally really appreciated that. I thought that was really, really important. And I respected that he was willing to engage with a lot of different ideas. The only thing he didn't do that was super interesting to me, he did not engage with the likes of Sidney Powell. He would not book her to bring her on his show. And as we all know now, Tim Castile also did not book Sidney Powell, even though we had the option to do so, because we didn't think there was any there. And it turns out Sidney Powell, and what's the other name of that other lawyer? I forget his name. He wasn't good. You guys will remind me about it. But we were like, no, this is shady. This is sketchy. There's no Kraken. There's no like snake in the grass. Okay. It either happened or it didn't. And if you can't prove to us that it happened right there as you sit, not interested. You know, and that gets into a really big conversation about election integrity that I think really needs to be had. But I don't think that those were the people like Sidney Powell. I don't think at all was the person to have that conversation, because she struck me as someone who was in it to get what she could. Texas Ranger 4 says, you do a great job, Lydia. Have a website. I have sourpatchlids.me, and I'm going to have Andy add my Rumble and my locals over there so you guys can follow along with everything you choose to follow along on. We also are going to start working on Odyssey, which is going to be another challenge. I'm not a boomer per se, but I have kind of a hard time learning new technologies, like switching to a Mac from using a Windows computer all this time. Holy cow, incredibly difficult. Lori says Linwood. Yes, correct. Linwood. That's right. All right, we're going to retweet Andy real quick. As is tradition, here we go. Lydia is going live right now. Once again, Trad Queen Story Hour Classic with Sour Patch Lids, TM, that's right, is going live again tonight. Tucker Carlson rage quits Fox News and a bunch of questionable emojis. Thank you, dear. That's wonderful work. I appreciate that. All right, speaking of that, back to it. Fox stock, say that 3 times fast, dropped $1 billion minutes after Tucker Carlson's departure. Holy moly, that's fantastic. You love to see it. Fox Corporation, the parent company of Fox News Channel, saw its stock fall by $1 billion with a B. B as in Bravo, minutes after news broke on Monday that the cable news channel had ousted its primetime star, Tucker Carlson. Shares of the company, which also owns other sports and entertainment television networks, dipped more than 5.4%. Holy cow. You thought the payout for the Dominion thing was huge? This is gigantic. Following the news of Carlson leaving the organization, shrinking the company's value by $1 billion. It's so sweet. It's so sweet. This is almost how I felt about Anheuser-Busch, and I could not be happier. Couldn't have happened to a nicer network. I'm so grossed out by Fox at this point. Holy cow. Serenko, welcome. Glad you could catch a live. Shares the company. Right. Yeah, we saw that. As closing bell Monday, Fox shares were down just under 3%. Matthew Tuttle, CEO and CIO of Tuttle Capital Management, told Bloomberg that Carlson's exit is definitely going to leave a mark on Fox. That's what I said. I was like, he was their biggest show. They will regret this. Other Fox News Channel shows ranking in the top 5 programs in cable news include The Five, Jesse Waters Primetime, Hannity, and Special Report with Brett Baier. I do like Brett Baier. He strikes me as being as close to impartial as possible. He's kind of like a historian, somebody who just goes over what actually happened in the past, and a very neutral kind of interviewer. I used to listen to his podcast when he was working on that. Although Carlson's future remains unclear, and we'll talk about that too, Tuttle and other investors purchased shares of Rumble, the Peter Thiel-backed conservative video network, and Digital World Acquisition Corp, the special purpose acquisition company merging with Trump Media. Interesting. Both stocks erased declines, with Rumble stock rallying as much as 3.9%, while Digital World gained 2.2%. So where Fox was losing, Rumble was gaining. How fortuitous, since we just set up and I'm starting to upload again to my Rumble channel. I am delighted. The news comes on the heels of Fox settling a bombshell defamation suit stemming from the 2020 election. Right, we remember this, and we don't talk much about that on YouTube because, as I'm going to talk about later, they do not take kindly to any of this stuff, and they are allowed to be as censorious as they wish to be. So let's talk about some of the other takes that people have on the Tucker Carlson departure. Here we have Dan Bongino, whom I used to think was crazy for everything that he said about the CIA and the FBI. Not anymore, not after 2020, 2021. Dan Bongino is stunned, reacting live to Fox parting ways with Tucker Carlson. Popular conservative pundit Dan Bongino reacted with shock upon learning that Fox News parted ways with top-rated host Tucker Carlson. I personally was shocked too. I don't know if you guys were as well, but I did not see this coming. But you know what? Fox News really strikes me a little bit like the Republican Party in that if there's a chance for them to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, you can be pretty darn sure that's exactly what they're going to do. I'm stunned. I don't even know what to say right now. Bongino, who himself recently split with Fox News, said as his podcast, The Dan Bongino Show, was airing live on Monday. So he also recently left Fox. But according to my understanding, that was his choice, not necessarily Fox News firing him. Moments earlier, Bongino said he had actual goosebumps after learning the news and receiving multiple texts from people following his Carlson's departure. Dan Bongino is on air live when he finds out Tucker Carlson and Fox News parted ways. In a move that sent shockwaves through the media sphere, Fox News announced, blah, 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 we know this already, we thank him for his service, blah, blah, blah. This is interesting too, and we're going to look at this tweet from, okay, so I'll just touch on this right now. Here were the final moments of Tucker Carlson's Tonight. Tucker's final guest was the pizza delivery man who tripped up a suspected car thief. The driver, Tyler Morrell, brought a bunch of pizzas, so the two sat and ate them while mocking the thief. We will be back on Monday. Will you? I guess not. I think this came as a surprise to everyone, but I just want to mention this. I love this story of his final time on camera at Fox as being spent with the pizza delivery guy, because from my understanding of Tucker Carlson, he is one of the most warm, genuine people that you can meet. He is known, I remember a really old story where he was fishing. He was like fly fishing or something at a lake in New York. I don't know what he was up to. Some guy came up to him and was like, hey, I know you. Can I like talk to you a little bit or whatever? And Tucker Carlson was super, super nice to him, super friendly as well. I don't think people recognize that the people they see on their TV screens are only there because of the people that they don't see. Okay, the people behind the scenes are the ones keeping the operation running. And this is what I said when the Project Veritas stuff went down. I said, yes, James O'Keefe is the face, the public relations of Project Veritas, but the people behind the scenes doing the work, making the contacts, being hidden and quiet and not being recognizable, they are the ones, especially in the case of Project Veritas, who are able to make this stuff happen. It seems to me that Tucker Carlson recognized that, and it's why he took time to talk to the little guy and make sure that they weren't forgotten. Sources told the Los Angeles Times the decision to fire Carlson and his producer Justin Wells came from Fox Corp chairman Rupert Murdoch, and that the exit is related to a discrimination lawsuit filed by former network producer Abby Grossberg. Carlson leaves Fox News days after Bongino announced his exit. Like Carlson, Bongino had a show on Fox's flagship network and another on its subscription-based Fox Nation. I've heard a lot of stories of people who are saying, I canceled my Fox Nation subscription. I'm not paying anymore. And the poll that we have in the chat today is about whether Fox News will survive this. I asked on my Twitter, a slightly different variation of that. I said, will you keep watching Fox without Tucker? He was the only reason Andy and I ever tuned in, which is 100% correct. Yeah, 95.7% out of 1,775 votes, give me one more, we got to be patriotic, said that no, they would not continue watching. But also a lot of people said, I never watched in the first place. A lot of people concerned about Greg Gutfeld because he's the next, I think he's one of, because it's part of the 5, he's one of the next highest grossing shows on Fox. So really, really interesting instance. I don't think that Fox did the right thing by any measure, and I think they are going to pay for it, much like Anheuser-Busch is paying for their mistake. Haha, what can I say about that? And then here's the other person weighing in is Megyn Kelly. It's a great thing for Tucker. I think she's right, and I appreciate her positive spin. Megyn Kelly says getting rid of Carlson is a terrible move for Fox. Megyn Kelly reacted to the news that Fox News had cut ties with top host Tucker Carlson, calling it a terrible move by the network. During the Sirius XM, the Megyn Kelly Show podcast opening segment on Monday, the host said Carlson's departure was not part of the network's recent $800 million settlement with Dominion voting systems. That's interesting. Kelly had read Fox News' statement that said the network had Carlson had decided to part ways, noting Carlson's final show was Friday and there would be no goodbye episode. That's really sad. I don't think that Fox recovers from this. So my poll is actually, is Fox dead without Tucker? 96% of you guys say yes, 4% say no. That is an awfully optimistic 4% because I don't think there's any way they come back from this. He was not the reason for the $800 million settlement. They get rid of Tucker. Talk about misjudging your audiences yet again. I think this is a massive error. Yeah, and she tweeted out, good for Tucker. Trust me, he doesn't need them. 100%. And somebody commented, you and Tucker would be an unbeatable force. Fox just lost their entire fan base. I am kind of inclined to agree. You guys let me know what you think for sure. Really, really interesting turn of events. Horrible judgment call, I think, on the part of Fox. But again, I will once again compare them to the ridiculously weak GOP, because this is exactly the kind of thing that I would expect from the GOP. They're supposed to be on our side, but they consistently fail us in every conceivable way to the point where it's just kind of soul crushing to kind of have to depend on them. But you don't have to depend on Fox News. You can turn to other places. Like I just read a whole bunch of articles from the Daily Wire. Daily Wire has great news sources. You can go to timcast.com. They do news over there as well. I'm familiar with Chris Carr. He is the editor-in-chief over there, and he's very committed to his job. I really appreciate what they're doing over there. And they're going out there and doing investigative journalism as well. Super, super important. At this point, too, we really need people who are able to go out and make those changes and do those investigations we need to see. Now, I don't know if you guys saw this because this man takes a second seat no matter what he does, but Don Lemon was also fired today. He left CNN in a blaze of glory. Let's read his statement, and then I'm going to read what Jesse Kelly, who is one of the biggest Fox News contributors. Oh, no, it's Jesse Waters. Sorry, I get them confused. See what Jesse Kelly has to say about this. This is what Don Lemon had to say. I was informed this morning by my agent that I have been terminated by CNN. I am stunned. After 17 years at CNN, I would have thought that someone in management would have had the decency to tell me directly. Okay, before we proceed, I have to say this smacks of the whole celebrities being upset about their blue check marks. This smacks of, I'm more important than this. How dare you treat me this way? I have clout. I have name recognition. Hello, smile, everybody. Everybody smile. We appreciate your attendance. At no time was I ever given any indication that I would not be able to continue to do the work I have loved at the network. It is clear that there are some larger issues at play. Yeah, they didn't like your performance. That's why they moved you to a morning show. I think they moved into an early morning show, didn't they? Guys, correct me if I'm wrong. It's clear that there are some larger issues at play. With that said, I want to thank my colleagues and the many teams I've worked with for an incredible run. They are the most talented journalists in the business, and I wish them all the best. Please, 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 please. Don Lemon, no one appreciates what he has to say. People who don't watch CNN dislike him, and it seems like even the people on CNN didn't even really like him, which is why he got fired. Here's what Jesse Kelly has to say. Don Lemon out. Kids, hear me now. Don't ever, ever, ever badmouth your former employee in public. Ever. For any reason, even if they deserve it. You are only hurting yourself, as all potential future employers just learn you'll be a problem when you leave. Keep it private. 100%. In fact, this is something that I harp on the right for doing constantly. We've seen this with a few people who decided they didn't want to work with the Daily Wire. Instead of handling it privately and professionally, they took it to Twitter and they aired it in the hope of attaining clout. For some reason, they thought this would help them be more popular. They thought this would help them win or get ahead. I have no idea what they were actually thinking because I can't even fit that in my available mental space. I cannot imagine what it would be like to turn around and talk trash about your former employee. I loved my time at Timcast. I appreciated everything I learned there. I literally met my husband there. Nothing but kind words to say about them. We love and appreciate everyone who works there. All companies have problems. And if you're going to complain about the problems at your company, you could do it in a professional way and or to people who have worked there or people who still do work there. What you don't do is go onto Twitter and air all your grievances, because Don Lemon might think that he's famous enough to not have to deal with this, but he just made himself look really snippy and really, really, really undesirable. I am just grossed out by what he had to say. You guys are welcome to disagree with me. We'll see where we go from here. I'm really curious. You know what? Let me see if I can pull up this article about Matt Walsh, because I want to talk about him later, as we're going to be talking about what YouTube has been up to. So as you guys probably know by now, there was a hack on Matt Walsh's personal information, which is a serious, serious issue. Let's see here. Yes. The person who hacked Matt Walsh's Twitter account sent a very rude message to Joe Walsh, which was very interesting. Very interesting situation over there. Made me really uncomfortable. I don't think that anybody should be hacked, including people with whom I politically disagree. Now, when Matt Walsh was hacked, a lot of leftists were crowing about it. In fact, journalists were openly soliciting his direct messages, and that actually got a Wired reporter banned, which I thought was fully fitting. Let's see what you guys are thinking before we move on, because we're about to switch gears a little bit, and I have some bad news for you guys. I don't think you're going to like it. All good. All right. Thank you so much for following me on Rumble. I appreciate that. We are moving our attention a little bit to some of these alternative platforms, like we should all along. Whisper says, hey there, y'all. Howdy. Texas Ranger without Gutfeld. Fox would sink. Agreed. Lynn Wood. Yes, he was the other person. So Sydney. Now I can't remember Sydney's last name. There were two different, lawyers who were involved in the whole Kraken thing. Sydney Powell. There we go. And Lynn Wood. I remembered all four of those names. Very proud of myself. Give me a break. My brain is dead. I can't read this. Mira Jamo. I was listening to Gad Sad's take on this, but didn't get far enough to know what's up. Gad Sad is a wonderful commentator. I would love to talk to him for sure. Whole Guacamole Man says it's good to show these corporations have an agenda not aligned with its customers. Well, we have known that for a while, to be fair. Fox News is just kind of shady and gross. And he says, I need to get you a Windows 11 computer for a few months just so you can appreciate how how much less bad Mac OS is. Yeah, I think the perfect compromise would be to install like an old version of Windows that I learned to use computers with on a Mac so that it works correctly, or to use Linux in tandem with Mac. If you don't stop complaining, I swear I'll install Gen 2 on that darn thing. I don't know what that is, but that does sound like a threat. Thank you, dear. I love you too. Sarenko says, though I guessed they've been pre-recorded for a little bit. That's right. We did pre-record for a while in there. I have loved talking to people, but I also really love engaging with you guys and being able to read your chats in real time. I appreciate that a lot. Oh yeah, plugs for Rumble. You better believe it. Yeah, I think probably what we're going to do is have interviews on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, and then just have me chatting Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We'll kind of tweak it as we go along. We'll see what happens. Schedules are advisable. I completely agree. Power Bob says, LOL, so many I used to think were crazy are now making total sense. Yes, Dan Bongino. I used to be like, wow, this guy's a little bit of a little cuckoo, but nope, not anymore. It's not since the events of like 2020 and the pursuant years. Yes. And he says, well, the show is always live at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, weekdays. That's correct. I think it's Eastern Standard right now, although we are on daylight saving, so it might be Eastern Daylight Time. Eastern Time. Don't worry about it. Andy says, just so we may do something like Tuesday, Thursday lives. Yes, very fun. We'll see what happens. Yes, 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Andy says, I was the one everyone used to think was crazy. Yeah, to be fair, people used to think I was a little bit crazy too, just because I was a good judge of character. And I was like, I feel like that person's going to let us down. People are like, you're crazy. I trust them completely. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't think so. Andy says, way too much conservative infighting these days. Yeah, for sure. The good men and women behind the curtains, that's right, the people you never see are the ones who bring you your favorite shows. The pizza guy was keeping Tucker Carlson's show running. Very important. Gabriel says, I'm surprised Tucker was allowed to speak the truth about the CIA, Big Pharma, etc. as long as he did. Yes, and I appreciate it for sure. And he says, switch from top chat to live chat for a much great good. Thank you for that advice, dear. I did it before I popped it out, but of course it switches it back if you do that. Good, men and women. Yeah, that's right. Mira says, Miroir, Jimbo. Don't pay attention to the people behind the curtains, by the way. Yes, don't not pay attention. That's right. Good advice. Good advice. Tucker was given a pretty incredible level of freedom to speak on Fox. He was. And I guess we all should have known that it wasn't going to last forever. Do you think Dylan would take the job? I'm not sure which Dylan you're referring to as Carlson's vacancy. No, I don't think so, but we'll see. Lori says the people in charge of these companies are typically out of touch with their customers. They live in a bubble. Yes, CC, the leaders of Anheuser-Busch. Holy cow, could you possibly be more out of touch? Guacamole Man says someone's pulling strings with these two leaving on the same day. So I guess Dan Bongino left before this happened. And I think that was on his own terms. It wasn't because of Fox telling him he was fired. That's what it looks like to me. Bring your whole self to work. Good advice. Yeah, so I think Don Lemon is really just kind of strikes me as kind of a mean girl, you know? And I don't know if that's how he actually is in person, but that whole little screed about leaving CNN, disappointing. I don't think future employers are going to like that. So I'm going to touch on, we're going to take a trip down Matt Walsh's Twitter timeline. That'll be fun. I'm going to touch on something that you guys, I don't think, are going to want to see. But you'll like it at first and then you're not going to like it because there's bad news and good news. So we'll start with the good news and we'll get you in the mood for the bad news. Chuck Todd takes a beating from the left for reporting 70% of Americans don't want Biden to run again. The NBC host, quote, needs a muzzle for saying something that they didn't want to hear. Isn't that interesting that the left can't handle hearing something that doesn't agree with their point of view? My gosh, it's just like exactly how they act literally all the time. And Chuck Todd is just finally saying it. Believe Chuck Todd? That's the not so rhetorical question people on social media were asking Sunday after the host of NBC's Meet the Press reported the results of a new NBC News poll about the potential rematch of President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. Let me stop you right there. Your issue is not with the pundit delivering the news. Just like for this next story we're going to look at, which you guys are not going to like, your issue is not with me. Your issue is with the poll, okay? Your issue is with how they went out and asked people these questions. And there can be much conversation about the way in which questions are phrased. But you need to recognize that you shouldn't be beating up the person. You shouldn't be shooting the messenger, okay? You should be listening to what the messenger is saying. Wow, is that maybe really true? Is this maybe something that we should be concerned about? Maybe, maybe not. All right, well, we can have that kind of critical thought. But if we say this person just needs to be shut up, that is fundamentally un-American. Asking to shut people down over something they said, gross, disgusting, disturbing, don't love it. All right, let's see here. Saying that there are only 6% of Americans that would like to see both Trump and Biden run. Interesting. The point is this. There's large majorities that don't want either gentleman to run, he said, flashing a graphic showing 60% of Republicans. Oh no, they're spoiling my lead. They're burying my lead. How dare they? 60% of Republicans don't want Trump to run. Okay? So that's the other shoe dropping for you right there. 70% of Democrats don't want Biden to run. 60% don't want Trump to run. And that's not news that a lot of right-wing pundits who have sold out their souls to push the Trump cause and maybe earn a little bit of extra moolah that way are going to want to hear. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. 60% of the people that NBC talked to over the course of this poll did not want to see Trump run again. Now, if you're willing to accept that 70% of Democrats don't want Biden to run again, then I hope you are also willing to at least entertain the idea that 60% of Republicans don't want to see Trump run again either. Let's continue. It's not because of his policies, it's simply because of questions about his physical ability to do it and his current age. Chuck Todd told Willie Geist of Sunday Today. But the thing that is most striking in our poll is how much Republicans are rallying around Donald Trump. When you look at this poll, on one hand, if you're Ron DeSantis, you can say, well, hey, I'm trailing by double digits. Barack Obama trailed Hillary Clinton by double digits the entire calendar year of 2007. right? He didn't overtake her nationally until he won Iowa. But boy, does it not look the same type of race when you look at, you have 70% of Republican primary voters tell us basically that these charges against Donald Trump mean that it's more important to rally around Donald Trump rather than giving them a choice that says, you know, he was a good president, but these could be distractions in defeating Joe Biden. Only 1 in 4 Republican primary voters believe that. I don't really fully understand their analysis there. We're going to have to go over that one more time. Let's see where we were. 60% of Republicans don't want Trump to run. Okay, 70% of Democrats don't want Biden to run. Okay, well, that's harsh but fair. This right now looks like both parties are about to nominate 2 people that the country doesn't want to have, and there are going to be unintended consequences for that. Whether it's people not showing up, whether it's third-party flirtation, Chuck Todd said, whatever it is, politics supports vacuums, and if the 2 of them are careening toward this rematch, it's going to create a vacuum. Jeez. Later Sunday on his own NBC show, Meet the Press, Todd went into detail about the why Democratic primary voters said Biden shouldn't run. What's the top concern for that? We didn't prompt them, Todd said. It's almost all about his age and his ability to do the job, of course. You can agree with Biden on everything and still look at the way he delivers his speeches and be like, holy crap, no, terrible plan. This man can't even walk upright. 4 more years, he will be dust. He will literally be gone the way of the buffalo as far as we're concerned. He went on to show that the Biden alternative, Trump, is even more unpopular among the American public, but the Trump investigations have galvanized his support. Right. Interesting conundrum there, right? Below is a small sampling of reactions to the poll numbers Todd presented and to Todd himself. Ageist, basement-dwelling Bernie babies who never vote anyway. Oh my gosh. Screw you, Chuck Todd, and screw you, millennials. Oh my gosh. Give me a break. These people are unbelievably out of touch. Yeah, why wouldn't you rally behind Biden? What's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with him. How dare you? The man can't speak. He can barely stand upright. Give me a break. Insane to me that people are still defending him at this point. So, now that we've kind of buried the lead on this one and spoiled this a little bit, an NBC News poll shows that nearly 70% of GOP voters stand behind Trump amid indictment and investigation. So this is the other thing they were talking about. A lot of GOP voters are behind Trump because of the way the left has gone after him with indictments and investigations. But their subtitle here, not good news. Large majorities of Americans sour on a Trump versus Biden rematch in 2024. So while people are behind Trump, and I'm very much in the same boat, the allegations against him were BS with capital B, capital S, okay? We know that Trump didn't actually do anything wrong. In fact, at this point in his career, I'm pretty freaking sure that he is the most squeaky clean man who has ever run for or been president in my lifetime, and probably pretty much over the course of American history. He has done nothing wrong. They can't find anything, literally nothing. They're trying to get him over some kind of allegations from 5 years ago that they dropped in 2019. Come on, give me a break. Absolute nonsense. We all know that Trump is innocent of this allegation, 100%. And we can admit that whatever we think about his chances in 2024. It is the unfair application of the rule of law what has happened to Donald Trump. A whopping 2/3 of the Republican primary voters say they stand behind former President Donald Trump and dismiss concerns about his electability. That might be a problem. Despite his recent criminal arrest, okay, NBC, and other legal investigations into his past conduct. That, along with his double-digit lead over his nearest potential GOP rival, makes Trump the clear frontrunner in the early race for the Republican presidential nomination. That is correct. That's where we are right now. The Republican Party's continued enthusiasm for Trump stands in contrast to an anxious nation's displeasure with how the 2024 race is shaping up. Substantial majorities of Americans don't want Trump or President Biden to run for president in 2024, setting up a potentially divisive and uninspiring general election rematch between the two, with Biden expected to launch his re-election bid in the coming days, which he did today, as far as I understand. So here we go. Which statement comes closer to your view on the investigation into Donald Trump and the Republican nomination for president? They are politically motivated. They are politically motivated attempts to stop Trump. No other candidate is like him. We must support him. 68% said yes. They agreed to that statement. The next option is, it is important to nominate a candidate who will not be distracted and can beat Joe Biden. Only 26% said that was the case. I got to stop right here. This is where I part ways with the Republican Party. There is nothing more important to me right now, as someone who is trying to grow their family and who is looking at the future as the potential mother of future children. Nothing is more important to me at this point in history than choosing a candidate who is electable. And that right now, to me, does not look like Donald Trump. And I know that's going to be disappointing and it's going to make some people very, very angry. But I like the idea of telling you guys the truth. I think that you deserve it. 100%. And you are welcome to disagree with me. Lots of people do. Trust me. They come after me constantly. They're like, you are a shill. You're a simp. Who's paying you? And I'm like, what the heck? Donald Trump is literally paying influencers on Twitter to say good things about him. No one's paying me to not say nice things about him. And trust me, no one's paying me to say that I think that Ron DeSantis has a better chance of winning than Donald Trump does. I appreciated Donald Trump in 2016. I thought he was essential for the job. He was 100% the bull in the china shop that we needed at this point. But right now, he's not focused on the left. And the left is currently promoting insane ideas that actively harm the youngest members of our society who need our help the most. If we are interested in helping those young people, we need all of our sights trained on the left. We don't have time for infighting, okay? We don't. We do need someone who is electable. We need to rally behind someone who can actually win an election. And I don't know how to verbalize how troubling it is to me to look at 2024 to 2028 and consider that we could be in the capture of the people who have put DEI into effect at every level of the federal government, people who say that men and women are exactly the same, and that anyone who distinguishes between them is a bigot and a horrible human being and possibly deserves to go to jail for saying or thinking the wrong thing. The people who are saying things like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said the other day about Tucker Carlson, shortly before he was fired, talking about how he does not deserve to be heard, and the other pundits and politicians who are out there right now from the Democratic Party saying things like, not only do we have the freedom to hold people like Tucker Carlson accountable, we have the obligation to do so. These people don't care about free speech. They don't care about actual equal opportunity. They care about equal outcomes for their chosen victim groups. Guys, they still have not talked about the Nashville victims. Okay? Karine Jean-Pierre is constantly asked about it, and she doesn't care. They don't care. Not only do they not care about actual Christians in this country, about the people who are members of the religion that founded this country, that they're currently governing into the ground, they go out of the way to honor the people who victimize them. And instead of talking about that, we are talking about whether Trump is better than Ron DeSantis. And he's making attacks on Ron DeSantis using Joy Reid's blog, okay? Literally coming at DeSantis by arguing in favor of Anheuser-Busch and in favor of Disney and in favor of Gavin Newsom. I could not be more disgusted. That is not the face of electability for the actual right. So many people on the right and so many independents are going to look at that and say, no, I'm sorry. My prediction right now, and I hope that I'm wrong, is that we will lose in 2024 if we choose to nominate Donald Trump. I don't see a path forward. And I cannot fit into my available mental space how anyone could possibly lose to Joe Biden. But everyone knows that Joe Biden wouldn't be saying with such excitement that he was planning on running again in 2024 if he didn't know that he would be running against Donald Trump again. Because I don't know if you remember this, but he beat Donald Trump in 2020. And you can argue about whether that was on the up and up. That's fine. At the end of the day, we're 3 years into a Joe Biden presidency. And I have to ask you, are you enjoying it? Because if we don't choose someone who's electable, we will get another 4 years. And if it's not Joe Biden, it will be someone just like him or possibly someone even worse. I am unbelievably concerned about this. And it's nothing personal against Trump at this point. My whole issue is about the electability of the candidate. And I am so gravely concerned that Donald Trump is not the man for 2024 like he was in 2016. And it's making me very sad. But it's also making me really angry because I see a lot of people who I used to really admire jumping on board with Trump and being like, I'm behind him all the way. It's going to be a really great matchup. It's going to be a good fight. I'm going to earn a lot of ad dollars from this, whatever. Gross. That's gross. It's not honest. If you don't believe it's true, you shouldn't be saying it. And you guys, I'm sure, are not agreeing with me right now in the chat, although I've been kind of ranting for a minute, so I haven't been looking, but I'm so deadly concerned with electability. It concerns me immensely the way that Trump is being pumped up by a lot of people I used to admire. And it makes me really sad. And this is actually something that Tucker Carlson mentioned shortly before his firing. He said a lot of the people on the right have kind of changed their tunes. They've changed their way that they're approaching this. And it made me really sad. And I was like, I'm not sure what exactly he was referring to when he mentioned that, but I can't help empathizing with that emotion because I feel the exact same way. I just want people on the right to tell the truth. And for some reason, that's really challenging. It's the appeal of money. I think people really, really don't want to lose the opportunity to get a little extra money. And if the way to do that is to push an unelectable candidate so they can get a few extra dollars in the present, they have no issue with that, especially for people who have no kids and who have no actual interest in the future. It's distressing. And I'm concerned that a lot of people, since so many people are not really super interested in having Trump run again, no one's going to be riled up to vote for him in 2024 like they were in 2016. And I don't think the people who are wound up about his indictment are going to be enough. And that makes me really sad. I wish that I saw a better way forward. I really hope I'm wrong about this. Really, really do. I know it's way too early. I'm not a prophet. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we still end up winning in 2024 by some hook and crook, by some kind of miracle. But right now I don't see it, and it's kind of disturbing to me. You should have heard me ranting to Andy about this earlier. I was just like, man, this is just kind of discouraging. But we're not giving up. We're absolutely not giving up. There are other things we can do besides worrying about the federal election. We can look, for example, at defeating big tech. So we're going to look for a second at Matt Walsh's timeline. We'll see if he has anything interesting to say. He was hacked, I think, last week on Monday. So I don't know if you guys know this, but he is under insane threats 24/7 because he doesn't like a lot of this new ideology that I'm not even going to get into here because YouTube is incredibly fickle. Matt Walsh on Sunday saw all of his YouTube channels, his entire channel, and a bunch of his videos fully demonetized. For what? YouTube will not tell you. And I realize I'm running a risk here because YouTube also removed a couple of my videos for what? For harassment and bullying? One of them was titled something about smug journalists. The other one mentioned this apparently untouchable public figure that none of us can ever discuss on YouTube ever again. I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about because this is who started the whole kerfuffle around Anheuser-Busch. You know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to say that person's name. Not interested. I don't earn hardly any money from YouTube, but I like having the platform and I sure do love discussing with you guys in the live chat. But Matt Walsh was demonetized by YouTube for reasons unknown. YouTube has threatened to ban us if we don't go along with this ideology. It's never going to happen. And I have to be honest. There was a time in my squishy, nice, friendly youth where I would have been shocked by the idea that someone could be so unbelievably disagreeable as Matt Walsh. I now could not possibly be more grateful for disagreeable people because having participated in this kind of dialogue about this really important stuff has made me realize the value of being someone who is not willing to be pushed around. In fact, one of my accolades in my Twitter bio is that Michael Malice said that seemed like I would be hard to push around. That is literally and figuratively correct. I don't like the idea of being pushed around, and I'm so grateful that we have people like Matt Walsh who refuse to be pushed around. It's absolutely pivotal. Matt tweets, Tucker makes news with his monologues. People talk about them. Nobody talks about Sean Hannity monologues. Fox is insane for letting that kind of cultural relevance go. I'm going to like that tweet because that's exactly what I've been saying. Disastrous moment for Fox News. Tucker was by far the most important and relevant voice. Yeah, 100%. Oh boy. Yeah. Oh goodness gracious. More from Trump. Really, really interesting stuff. So Trump recently said that Florida was the worst state in the country to live in. Yeah, and this is what I was mentioning earlier. Trump is attacking DeSantis using MSNBC and Joy Reid articles. This is literally from Joy Reid's blog. The Readout. Ron DeSantis' DC charm offensive was a massive failure. It's good to see the right and the left getting along so well, I suppose. Anyway, I feel like having Matt's Twitter timeline is going to get my video demonetized, but I wanted to talk to you guys about what I suspect is going to be happening with YouTube over the course of the next few months and as we get closer to 2024. So I think that this kind of happened a little bit when we were going into 2020, but not to this extent and not so early. I'm a tiny channel. They went out of their way to go back months and find videos where I was extremely nice. I'm extremely nice and I'm extremely good at saying things in such a way as to not be offensive to the person I'm talking about, right? So I was talking about this particular character, piquant character, as we shall say, because we're not referring to them by their name. And they went all the way back, and in their attempt to change the cultural narrative about this person, they went to a tiny little channel's single video about this person and they removed it outright. I have no option to save it. It's gone forever. No one will ever see it again. And YouTube has that power because I didn't put it on any other platforms. That changes now, okay? So this is why I set up my YouTube channel or my Rumble channel. This is why I'm putting this together. This is why I think this is super important, especially going into the 2024 election. We are going to need to have alternative platforms, right? Okay, so we have Rumble, we have Odyssey. When it comes to shopping, we have Public Square. You guys know this. When it comes to work, we have Red Balloon that helps you find non-woke employees. We have some options. Dan Bongino, who we were just talking about a little bit ago, actually has a payment processing platform called Parallel Economy, which is a great name because that's exactly what we're building here. We're building a parallel economy where we don't need to rely on places like YouTube. I sense what's going to happen going forward is that YouTube is going to keep upping the censorship game until, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a while in there where nobody could mention the name of the Ukraine leaker. It was during the course of Trump's second impeachment, when they were going after him for talking about Ukraine. There was the name of a specific whistleblower who actually used to work with one of these three-letter agencies, and you were not allowed to say it on YouTube at all. In fact, when Rand Paul brought up this person's name on a C-SPAN stream, I think it was, I believe YouTube was the one that took it down. I think that's only going to get worse, which means that no one's safe. Especially me with my tiny little channel, with my videos that got like several hundred views, nothing significant. And I think this is going to keep ramping up. They're going to not only amp up their algorithm, they're going to manually go through these individual videos and make sure that no one is saying anything counter to the narrative. Insane to me. Absolutely not. Oh, somebody says maybe Tucker will run. That was a really interesting idea. And something I kind of wanted to get into tonight was, what's Tucker going to do now? People have been floating the idea that he might run for office. Now in 2020, Tucker is on record having said, no, I don't want to run for office. But I have to admit, I would be tickled pink if Tucker Carlson were the press secretary for the Republican presidential winner in 2024. That would be amazing. Of course, I also thought that Trump would be a freaking phenomenal press secretary too. I love the idea of these people who actually get answers being press secretaries. I just love it. I think it would be even more fun than watching Kayleigh McEnany in action. Honestly, I really, really do. We'll see what happens. I don't think that Tucker's going to run for office, but I do think that he could maybe advise the presidential campaign. It would be really fun if he got an exclusive show, maybe on an alternative platform like Rumble. That'd be really awesome. I like the idea of maybe him having his own show or starting his own network or doing some other kind of parallel economy work like some of these other people have. Thank you guys for your feedback. Andy says, rumble.com/Tucker Carlson tonight. That's awesome for sure. Oh, let's see here. Oh, where are my super chats? I saw 2 go by. Thank you guys. To anybody who super chats, truly appreciate it. We are such a China channel. 100% the Dippin' Dot Snack Fund is in good hands with you guys. Oh, Mirwa I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Mira Jamo says Unity 2024 ? Brett Weinstein's idea for 2020. That is an interesting idea. As the Yahoo article was talking about, this might certainly leave room for a third-party candidate. Very interesting idea. Definitely something I get on board with. Curious how many people would want to go for something like that. I could see a lot of people being on board with that, especially in 2024, given how unbelievably uninspiring the candidates are going to be, because I'm willing to bet we'll call it my lint remover. I'll bet my lint remover that Trump is nominated, and furthermore, it does not win, because I really think that's the most likely outcome, unfortunately. But we'll see what happens. Who knows? Everything could change overnight. It's possible that Trump wants DeSantis to win, and that's why he's kind of putting this defense up. Who knows? Who knows? He's always playing 4D chess, right? Brett Desovic, thank you, sir, says send Don Lemon to Fox and Tucker to CNN. That would be interesting. I love that idea. I saw a lot of people pitching the idea of Tucker going over to CNN and doing Crossfire, which I think was a super, super popular show. Thank you guys for joining me. I have a class tonight at 8, so I'm probably going to cut it a little bit short. I kind of feel like I wasn't able to cover everything, but I really wanted to bare my soul a little bit about why it's so important to me that we have a candidate who can win in 2024, because it's kind of breaking my heart that I'm so concerned that we're going to have a nominee who's not going to be able to beat Joe fucking Biden. Are you kidding me right now? Pardon my swearing. I'm so frustrated at the idea that the person we run in 2024 might not even be able to beat a decrepit zombie who could not drag himself out of his basement long enough to actually campaign in 2020 and still won. Okay? Frustrating. Really frustrating. And I understand the sentiment behind wanting to support Trump, but I'm watching how he's acting toward his actual viable opposition on the right. I'm grossed out. I'm sorry. He's not behaving like someone on the right should behave. He's not behaving in a way that any actual conservative can wholeheartedly endorse. And it's sad, because I wish that we had something better that more people would glom onto, and that people who I respect and appreciate would be on the right side of, frustrating. Anyway, I'm going to drop it here. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you, Brett, for your super chat. I appreciate that. It's rare that you can join us, for sure. About darn time. Jeez. Crash Cooter Coot. That's a great name, by the way. It says preach with some hearts after it. Yeah, I know that what I'm saying is not popular, but I'm not saying it to be popular, right? And I know that's not going to earn me any money. Trump's not going to reach out to me. He's not going to give me money from his PAC like he did with Alex Brusowitz and try to get me to say nice things about it. It's fine. Whatever. Greg says, hope this helps you with YouTube removing your videos. Thank you so much, sir. Also, CNN gave me my birthday present for firing Don Lemon. That is a mixed blessing, because you also got Tucker Carlson fired. What were you wishing for, Greg? Just kidding. Happy birthday. Wonderful time of year to be born. It is a lovely springtime. Mirage Jemois says, thanks you. Bye-bye. Yes, people voted against Trump. Yes, that's my concern. Pirate Bob says, it was great catching you live, Lids. Thank you for casting, and thank you, Andy Leiterman, for moderating. See you on Rumble. All right, bye, guys. Appreciate it. And Texas Ranger says, thank you for your honesty. I do my best. I do not like lying to people, and I'm too forgetful to keep it up for long, so I'm not good at it. All right, you guys, I will see you all tomorrow. I think we'll have a pre-recorded interview, but we'll see what happens. Until next time, bye, guys. How's it going?